PHP7 is coming. All right. Let's go. So, strange colors away. Who am I first? I'm Julien Pauli. Perhaps you know me. I'm known as being PHP5 and 5.6 release manager, main for 5.5 and secondary for 5.6. We are always two people managing releases of PHP. I'm a PHP internals worker, reviewer, and bug hunter. So I merge PRs, I give IDs, I fix tests, codes, and things like that. I'm working for Sincio Labs in Paris, and you can fetch me on GitHub and social networks, things like that. I got a blog as well for GitHub. So, PHP versions. Just a reminder, PHP 5.3 is dead. PHP 5.4 is going to be dead normally next month or in 2 months. It's actually in security fixes only. Okay, so we have many bugs in PHP that are now fixed in 5.5, 5.6, but no more in 5.4. And 5.4 will be out of date normally end of year or this summer. It depends on how we manage the things. 5.5 is the current version, but it's going to be nearly dead. It's been released in June 2 years ago. So in June this year, we'll stop patching PHP 5.5. We start a 1 year security fix only, and then next year, PHP 5.5 will be dead, etc., etc. So you should be using 5.6. If you are behind the red line, you are not good. If you're between the two lines, you are going to be borderline in about a year. You're going to have to migrate your servers. If you're above the green light, it's okay. So, and PHP7. PHP7 normally this year, and PHP 8 in 5 years, and PHP 9 5 years later, etc., etc. We have a consensus of releasing new major versions every 5 years, and not 10 years like now, because PHP 5.0 is from 10 years ago. It's too big, so now we're going to limit this at 5 years gap for major versions. So 5.6, there will not be any 5.7. Okay, it's going to be 7 directly. Why not 6? 6 is dead, and 7 is nice, because 6 has been released something like a strange version 5-8 years ago. It's been stopped. The development has been stopped, and then we decided to forget about PHP 6 and to start a new features and a new release. It's just about numbers, you know. It won't be 6; it will be 7. So jump over 6, and that's over. So PHP 7 is a major release. Major release means we're going to break things. Means you're gonna have to migrate your servers, and you're gonna have breakage in your code. But we only break when it's absolutely necessary. Okay, we don't want to fall in a Python 2 versus Python 3 war. If you know about Python, or if you remember about PHP 4. We still have now in 2015 PHP 4 point I don't know what servers. We don't want users to repeat the same errors, and we don't want in 10 years to still have people running PHP 5. We want them to migrate very easily and very smoothly. So that's why there are not many things that break in 7. Okay, and we are actually thinking about this. Oh no, it's going to be a too big breakage for PHP 7. We will backport that in PHP 8. So we nowadays we have IDs for PHP 8. Okay, so we try to make things very smooth for people to migrate and to migrate very easily. And we're going to have a 7.1, 7.2, etc., with no breakage inside. So function arguments won't be changed just for your eyes or just for you not to migrate. And functions won't be turned into objects methods. Okay, it's useless. It's just to break things. So we don't break things just to break things. Go-to keyword will not disappear, and the Earth will continue its rotation. We've been asked, why don't you use this 7.0 release just to swap the arguments in str functions and get rid of those underscores and things like that? Because people will never migrate if we do this, and we're going to lose PHP. So we won't do this. If you want to do this, you can use PHP extensions with macros like falias to alias your functions, build your own PHP and do it on your side, okay? But don't ask for the language to break for the simple pleasure of your eyes. And PHP now is 20 years old. So that means that you know the order of the arguments by heart, don't you? You know this because you've been using PHP for many years, 5, 10 years, perhaps you know PHP 3. So it's useless now that your brain knows the order of arguments to just swap them. And the order of arguments are mainly given by the C functions on the layer, so it's all right to have this. What changes in PHP7? We have a new engine. I'm going to talk about this. If you run under 64-bit platforms, I think so, you should. You're going to like PHP7. We have a new parser, a new compiler based on AST. And we tidy up many things, and we added many little things as well. I can't detail here. So for the new user features, I selected some of them, okay, but there are many more. They're going to be a migration guide onto php.net soon. I don't know when, but soon, during summer, I think. So the big things are fatal errors are replaced somehow. I'm going to show you by exceptions. We have new operators, and we have new typing. Okay, we don't have a strongly typed language, but some kind of. You can choose if you want strong typing or weak typing. So that's the biggest feature, I think. Anonymous classes and many new features I can't list here. So let's start for new features. A little one I chose to show you is the group use declaration. So nowadays, many people make use of frameworks, and you have lots of use statements on top of your files. So that's pretty hard to write, even if your IDE can help you by writing the lines for you. We introduced a new syntax like this, just to shorten the sentences and shorten the lines, so you can make use of this. Okay, it's just a new syntax, something like that. So you don't like, it's going to be, it's merged in PHP7. Everything I show you here is already merged in PHP7, so you can test it if you grab a snapshot, or if you fetch it from Git, you can give it a try. The double question mark operator. So as you can read, many users try to test if a variable exists and affect it to a container, to another variable, or give a variable by default. It's a little bit long to write in PHP 5. Nowadays, in PHP 7, you have the same with the double question mark operator. Same operator that's been added, it's the spaceship operator, this one, okay, which returns -1, 0, or +1, depending on the length, the size of the arguments. It's just like the strcmp function you should know about. So it's like this, we shorten the code with new operator. The exceptions in PHP 7, you will be able to catch every PHP fatal error in a try-catch statement. Okay, only fatal errors have been changed in a compatible way. I'm going to show you. It has nothing to do with warnings, notice, and everything like that. It's just about fatal errors, any fatal level. Okay. So you will be able to try catch code that is about to throw fatal errors, and you're gonna catch exceptions. And there will be, it's very probable. We have a patch today I reviewed about a throwable interface that is gonna come into PHP7 as well. I can't give you many details about it, but it's like Java. We fetch, we're not far from Java with its throwable interface. It's not merged yet. Okay, it's the PR is on GitHub, and we are actually developing it. So that's how it's gonna work. The thing that is important to know is that there is no exception that is thrown if you don't try catch. If you call a function that does not exist, you have the exact same error message that in PHP5. It's the exact same behavior. But if you try catch this, then the engine will silently turn the error into an exception if it meets the try catch statement. If not, it's just normal behavior. Okay, this is for migration, to ease migrations. So you can now try, and you can catch what's called an engine exception here. So we a little bit changed the exceptions in PHP7. I'm going to show you in the next slide. As well, we added a parse exception. So now if you run eval on a PHP code, you can catch parse error, parse exceptions, something you could not do in PHP5, or you could do, but very strangely with lots of error handler hacking and things like that. So now you have a parse exception as well. So the exception hierarchy has been a little bit changed, and it's not really fixed yet. It still can change in few months when PHP7, it's not really stable. Will we keep the base exception? Will we replace it by a throwable interface? We're not sure yet, but it will look like something like this. The exception won't be the topmost exception anymore. Okay, there will be exceptions on top of the exception class. So in your code, if you catch exception, you're going to catch the classical exception like you do in PHP5, but you will be able to catch above exception to catch fatal errors, okay, from PHP. So you have an engine exception, a type exception, a parse exception that sits on top of exception, the exception class. Okay, so it's been designed like this. It could change in the future, but it won't be very changed from this slide. So that's nice. I'm going to show you other examples on next slides about this. We added a call method for closures. You know about bind and bind to. That's been added to 5.4 and 5.5, something like this. It's not really useful. Well, it's a little bit hard to use. Now we added a call method on a closure. It's designed to change the binding of all of this into the closure when you call it directly. So here is an example which is pretty simple to understand. So you could do this in PHP5, but you had to use bind, which returns a new closure with a new bound this, and use this new closure. It's a little bit silly. So now you have a call function that allows you to change the all of this meaning into the closure body. It won't work for internal classes, only user classes. The return type declaration. So that's pretty new in PHP7. It's absolutely not mandatory. Okay, we are really clear about this. PHP5 code should run under PHP7. So you can still declare functions with no return type, but in PHP7 you can also declare return type. It's with a colon int. It's special syntax. We chose this one. Okay. So you declare the type, and then PHP is going to check when you call your function if you return the right type, and it issues a fatal error, okay, if it's not the right type that is returned. PHP is going to convert automatically the arguments like it's always done so far. So PHP is the type juggling language. So if you pass some kind of string or boolean, if PHP can turn it to, for example, an integer, it's going to turn it for you. Like you know, it's the exact same behavior used nowadays in PHP5, but it's been ported to this new feature. So here we declare a function returning an integer, okay, and if we call it with a string that represents an integer, PHP is going to cast it for you and return the integer, okay, automatically. If you pass it an array, it cannot turn the array into an integer, so it's going to throw you a fatal error, which can be caught as an exception. Call time variance type is allowed. So as we can see here, we have an interface with a function that declares returning itself, an interface of itself, and you can implement it and return yourself. If you implement the interface, it's going to work. What won't work is compile time various type. It's not allowed. Okay, so here I implement the interface, but I change the return type, not being A anymore, but B. This is not good, and PHP is going to give you a fatal error about declaration, which is not good. Like it does nowadays with function arguments, array, objects. It already does this, but now it's going to check as well for the return type. We added as well what's called scalar type hints. It's just about we can type argument in PHP5 for array or any object, class, or interface. In PHP7, it's been extended to scalar types like integer, strings, boolean. Null and resource are not supported. Okay, that's just pointless. So integer, string, booleans, for example, are supported. And PHP, like you can think, is going to type juggle your types if you don't provide the right types by calling it. So here, integer, string, boolean, I pass 1, 1, 1, integer, integer, integer. It's okay, because PHP is going to transtype the types if it can do so. This is for scalar types. For compound types like array, it won't convert the types. Why? Because it does not do it actually in PHP5. In PHP5, you can type with an array. If you don't pass an array, there is an error. This is still the same behavior. So no change. This is another example where PHP can transtype. So integer, string, boolean, you pass string, integer, string, and as those ones can be typed to the receiving types, PHP is going to type it for you. Only when this is possible. Okay, so here, if you have, for example, a string foo, or for example, the boolean foo as well, the string foo cannot be turned into an integer. PHP cannot do this. Like the string foo cannot be turned into a boolean. Okay, so PHP is going to throw you a fatal error in this case. And you can catch it. Okay, and this error is a type exception. Okay, because every fatal error in PHP can be caught now. This one can be caught as well as a type exception. Backslash is needed. Okay, so you can catch it this way. And you can catch type exception, and you can catch exception if the function throws PHP exceptions, and you have different catch, and you can make PHP run them. This is the default behavior. PHP is going to do its best to transtype the arguments when you call the function to the arguments the function declared it wants to receive. You can turn it to strict types And if you turn it to strict types with a declare statement, then PHP will not perform any transformation for you. It's gonna, like the triple equal, you know, it's gonna be strict. You ask for a Boolean, you receive a string, you receive it's not a Boolean, it's gonna issue a fatal error for you. This is at call time. Okay, so I declare my function, I declare my arguments, and at call time, when I call it, if I use declare strict types equals 1, then I'm very, very strict. And this declare statement must be the first statement in every file, and it's file bound. It's not global. Okay, so you have to add it to every file if you want it to have a global strict type checks. So this is just the same thing. I show you it as well for the return types. Okay, because when you use declare strict types, not only the types the function receives are checked, but also the return type is going to be strict. Okay, so this is an example where I return an integer. I'm given an integer and I return a string. Okay, so if I don't use strict types, PHP can perform many things for you. The 1, 2, 3 pigs is going to be turned into an integer 1, 2, 3 and then return as the string 1, 2, 3. Okay, if I use strict types, yes, that's not good because I give it an integer, but I declare returning a string and I return an integer, so it's not good at all. It's going to be good for frameworks and things like that. It's going to be debated lots of time, and it's a consensus that has been found just for many people to be happy. Okay, so this is a sum up. Don't forget, this is file-based. This is disabled by default. So by default, PHP is smooth, as it used to be. It's going to convert the arguments whenever it can do it. And if you want to be strict, you can ask it to be strict, but it won't be strict by default. Okay, so it eases migrations from PHP5 to PHP7. Another feature, anonymous classes. Just like anonymous functions, there is nothing really special to talk about this. You can declare classes at runtime by using this new syntax, new class, something like this. And yes, you can use it in more specific features like this. Okay, it's just the same as anonymous functions, but for classes. Okay, so here I declare my class at runtime. It's nice for testing frameworks like PHP unit and things like that, creating mocks, using evil for a class. Now it's going to be easier for such cases. And new minor features I just added here. Preg replace callback array, error, clear last, new functions. If you use the assertion mechanism, like the assert function, it's very, very much more optimized in PHP7. So it's nice if you use this. And the session also, I would have liked to detail this, but I have not many time for this. Session is nice, nice improvements. I read them. You have lazy writes, read-only sessions, and things like this, which are, you can lock your session and say session start something like, I don't remember the syntax, but session start read-only equals 1, and you cannot write to $_session. It's going to issue a warning, for example. So the session module has evolved very much as well, with new features if you want to know. So about breakage, what's going to break in PHP7? So the syntax changed a little bit for the AST. The AST removals and behaviors that have changed. So we have an AST now for our compiler and parser, which is hookable for userland if you use a special extension. So this is going to break your code, I think. Okay, so the order, the double dollar and the dollar something has been changed. Okay, before it interpreted like this, and now it will interpret like this, which is, to my sense, more logical. It's left to right. Okay, a parser should be left to right. There are not many syntaxes that are right to left. So if you use the double dollar or dollar parentheses, things like that, perhaps you're going to have surprises about this. But this change was necessary to have a new parser which is more optimized. So I think you should be aware that this change could break your apps. And lists, well, that's just to show you. List allows array access objects every time. It used to do, but not very nice in PHP5. You cannot unpack strings anymore with lists. If you use this feature, it won't work anymore in PHP7. You can use this in PHP5. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. The invalid octal literals will now issue a fatal error. Okay, if you meet the 8 digit in basis math 8 octal, it's from 0 to 7. So 8 is 8, 9, just invalid. In PHP5, it says nothing. In PHP7, it will say something. And finally, the hexadecimal strings are not recognized anymore. Strings. Every string that starts by 0x will be just a string and won't be interpreted as an integer anymore. Okay, in PHP5 it used to be the case, no more in PHP7. We have a new escape sequence. So in double-quoted string, if you used \u, you will have problems because now \u is recognized as a new escape sequence. Okay, it's for Unicode escape characters, so you can play with lots of characters from Unicode. If you want to do that in PHP7, it's going to be available. We removed the ASP tags and the script language PHP tags. Finally, we removed the affectation of new by reference. This is an old behavior borrowed from PHP4 that's been supported in PHP5 for long years for people to migrate from 4 to 5. Now it's no more the case. Okay, finished. You cannot do this anymore. You cannot comment your ini files with dash anymore. Okay, you cannot use this big HTTP raw post data variable, which is strange PHP input, and call user method and call user method array, which are just aliases for call user function and call user function array. So call user function is still here, call user function array as well, but no more call user method and method arrays. They are deleted. This can also give you some migration problems. If you use this very old feature borrowed from PHP4 to PHP5, you could use this in a non-this context, in a non-object context. This code gives B in PHP5, which is not good because there is no need. There is no $this if you call a static method. There should not be this available because you're in a static context. In PHP5, here, $this is available because from PHP4, etc., etc. In PHP7, the same warning will be displayed, but this won't be bound anymore. Okay, so in PHP5, it was bound to the object, to the calling object, no more in PHP7. This has so PHP5 already said deprecated, so normally it should be all right for you. We removed not the extensions, but things, little things in those extensions, like very old constants or very old functions or ways of doing things. It's not very problematic for your migration. You won't have many problems, but you could read the migration guide, which will be available in a few months, I think. The many old API were removed. You won't be able to run PHP7 with Apache 1 as a module anymore. Okay, it won't work. And finally, last, we changed the behaviors. Some behaviors in PHP7, like this one. This is in PHP5. You declare the same variable in a function, okay? In PHP7, it gives a fatal error. In PHP5, it does random things, which are strange, okay? So no more in PHP7. Finally, the function as being called as a constructor will now issue a deprecated error and will be removed in PHP8, okay? So you should be aware of this. And this breaks Symfony 2, actually, because Symfony 2 has got a class string and a class true. Strange, but that's it. And I have a few slides again, so if you could wait perhaps 3 minutes. So string, bool, int, integer are reserved words for classes, and for classes only. And for classes not in namespaces, okay, raw classes. So this breaks Symfony 2, actually. The words are not used yet, but they are to be used in 7.1, perhaps in 7.2, and perhaps PHP 8 will introduce a string class. We don't know, so we reserve the word now. This is a change that could also impact you. The fungetarg will now reflect the real argument value if it's been modified from the time the function's been called and the time you call fungetarg. In PHP5, you receive the argument like it's been received. In PHP7, if it's been modified through time, it will be reflected. And it's the same in the stack traces. This is a big change. So take care about this, particularly about debug components that analyze the string. Don't know why, but why not? Okay, so this will be reflected as the parameter has changed in the function. Okay, so take care about this. Okay, if you used shifts, now they are better. Okay, and negative shifts, which just gave strange results in PHP5. Now they give you a warning, something which is cool, which is clean, if you use shifts like this. Finally, you can use and, current, next, and things like that into for each. It won't impact for each anymore. Okay, so in PHP5, you had things very strange. In PHP7, it's much more logical sense. Okay, same for iterating by reference. It's been a little bit changed. So in PHP5, you could not see the difference if you filled the array. In PHP7 now, you can see the difference if you fill the array when using iteration by reference. So this should not break anything because I don't think you use things like that. It's just many strange to use. And finally, the engine has been many optimized. If you use 64-bit, you know that PHP is now not to be platform dependent about this. Criteria. It's not the case anymore in PHP7. In PHP7, if you use 64-bit operating system with is it Windows, Unix, or any Unix flavor, you will have 64-bit integers, 64-bit string length. It was not the case, particularly under Windows and Linux, which are different in PHP5 about this. Okay, so it's nice. So you can have huge strings and things like that. So it's okay. And finally, about performance. So we worked on many things about performance internally, okay, and about thread safety. If you use a thread safe compiled PHP5, you pay about 20% performance impact, which is very huge, against a PHP5 which has been compiled with non-thread safety, like under Linux. It's not the case anymore in PHP7. Whether you use a PHP which is thread safe or not, you won't pay a performance impact anymore in PHP7. So feel free to use thread safety if you want to. And for performance, you can expect to divide by 2 the CPU time and the memory which is used. So I ran a quick bench. This is the micro bench, which is just nothing special, but we can see that in PHP7 we have a lot of time less, and finally the real bench I performed for you is about PHP unit for Doctrine 2 in PHP 5.6, and in PHP7 we can see that the time is divided by 2 and the memory is divided by more than 2. Okay, so this is a nice improvement. I always talk about if you have 100 servers. I think that with PHP7, you will need only at most 50 servers. You can divide everything by a factor of 2, which is perhaps sometimes more than performed benchmarks about Drupal and WordPress, and in certain situations, you divide by 4. The CPU time and the where is Patrick? Yes, we ran a recursive function like a Fibonacci. I just ran it a few hours ago, and it's divided by 2 as well. In PHP 5.6, I got a Fibonacci of 33 in 18 seconds, and in PHP 7, it's in 8 seconds. Okay, so it's more than divided by more than 2. This is the big improvement in PHP7. So last slide. Help us. Help us. We are expecting to release PHP7 at the end of year, something like October, perhaps November, perhaps if we are very lucky, September, but I don't think. We need you to help. We need you to run PHP7 against your application. I still can perform bugs in PHP7 by running PHP unit, Symfony 2 test suite, and things like that. It's still things to do in PHP7. It's not really stable yet. This summer, perhaps next month, I think we should release the first alpha, and then alpha, beta, RC, and finally the GA. It depends if we don't. We always discover a blocker bug at the end of the release cycle. We're going to release 7.0. Now we have a last blocker which allows us to release a new RC. So help us, run benchmark, play with the language. The more application you run against, and the more it will be stable for 7.0. Oh, that's crap about colors. Thank you for listening. Perhaps you have questions. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for this very, very interesting information. Why do you choose to put a declare on each file? Why there is no global solution to?
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
The PHP compiler is file-based.
Okay.
So when it compiles a file, it goes to the next one. It has forgotten everything about the first file.
Okay.
Everything is forgotten. Files are compiled file by file. There is nothing like compilation unit like in C, where the compiler can optimize many things knowing file A, file B, file C. Okay, so in C you use things like time B. No, it's not the case at all in PHP. It's file-based compiler. It's like this. So you have to use declare, like the declare ticks. But perhaps you know this? No, don't you? So it's the same. That's why.
Thank you.
Perhaps another question. I'm still available after keynote.
Thanks for the conference. I realized that this is maybe not a question you ask in a phptour, but some people say that PHP7, just like Java 8, is just catching on. What do you have to say to the skeptics?
I think PHP evolved the right way because the feature that has been added have been asked for years by the community. So we listened to the community and we tried to manage to have everyone to make everyone happy about the new features and the things like that. So PHP is really, really community-driven, okay? I don't know if Java is as community-driven as PHP, but if you want today, tomorrow, you can fork PHP on GitHub and you can make PR. And I and other people try to give some time to read them, to comment them, not to shout at people. It's Rasmus' spirit about having a free, open language, and it will always retain like this. So I don't think we can compare PHP to any other language. Python and Ruby are not developed the same way because they have a head, someone that decide this is okay, this is not okay, and you have nothing to say. It's not the case at all in PHP. I don't want this, but you want this and you want this. You are two, I'm one. You win. That's all. Democracy, like you said this afternoon. It's good if you are on the right side. It's not good if you don't like, but if you don't like, you still can use another language. You're free. Or another operating system, or whatever you want. Is it okay? Okay, so I'm available if you have questions after the keynote. Thank you.